and welcome to another episode of the My Favorite Parts podcast. My name is João da Silva. I'm here with Mr. Thomas R. Wilson, here with us today. And first off, I just wanted to say thank you for being here with us, Thomas. And if you wanted to take a little moment to tell the audience about yourself and what makes you you.
Absolutely. So I am, as said, I'm Thomas R. Wilson. I run RNH Creative Advocacy and Storytelling. This is an organization that does advocacy, education, storytelling, sensory-friendly event specialist work, youth advocacy and mentorship, all different kinds of things. I always say if I went into all the hats I wear, we would not have time in this podcast conversation do everything, but I do cover a wide variety of ranges in my field. I cover a lot of different communities, but at the heart of what I do is really dedicating my work, my expertise, my experience to making sure there is high quality education, there is high quality events, there is high quality community access to everyone, no matter
Mhm.
their lived experience, their diagnosis, their financial status, and a big part of that is accessibility. And I know that's a little bit of a hot button word for a lot of people nowadays.
Yeah.
What I like to say that really is just making sure everybody gets out to the community, everybody has what they need, and instead of making sure people can't walk up steps or cannot go watch TV or see a movie, it's making sure everybody can access those things and have the highest quality of living possible.
Mhm. Absolutely. And I appreciate you doing that. And I do know that that subject is something that's like you said hot right now, but it's something that's important also. So I'm glad that you're going out and doing the work to do that, and I'm sure the audience appreciates that too.
Oh, thank
And
you.
yeah, and without further ado, let's get into your favorite parts because I know a lot of your favorite parts has to do with that subject also. So I think what you'll speak on is going to be very important and helpful for the audience too. So without further ado, the first subject that you wanted to do was the power of storytelling.
Mhm.
So if you want to take some time to tell the audience what your favorite part about that is.
So I will try to be quick and concise because I could talk about this for a week at a time. I don't want to do that to people. So my favorite thing about storytelling is,
Hmm.
in my opinion, it has to do with the fact that I consider storytelling to be the great art form.
Hmm.
What I mean by that is it incorporates into media, it incorporates into painting, it incorporates into creating a video game. It really,
Hmm.
storytelling is at its heart infused every part of human life. And
Hmm.
we've wanted it since we were making cave paintings way back when. We crave it in our today, and it's also more than that. It is something that people do in order to survive. At its heart, it's communication.
Yeah.
And in that, some of my favorite things about it is helping people to explore how powerful it is in the sense that it can help people be stronger self advocates.
Hmm.
It's also helping youth find their ability to move and play and explore their community, make new friends. But also, on top of that, it is such a powerful tool to help people connect, feel less alone, feel more empowered. And we can do this by running D&D games, which I do. We can do this through the arts, we can do this through education.
Hmm.
But at its core, my favorite part of storytelling is really communicating the human experience in
Hmm.
ways people might not expect, in ways that will help us be healthier, happier, but also ways that encourage and foster what it is to be human in really beautiful ways in each new story that is told.
I think that's amazing. You touched on it a little bit, but with like games too, how they have the storytelling. That's a big part like of it too. I mean, I'm sure people go for the gameplay, but especially me in personal, I play a lot of games just for the stories and stuff because I'm
Mm-hmm.
so invested into. So the storytelling part gets people like invested in stuff. So I think it's amazing that it encompasses that part also.
I totally agree.
Hmm.
I love stories in video
Hmm.
games. I'm actually I'm not someone who's a big believer that things have to have the highest definition graphics or it has to be a high combat video game.
Mhm,
Give me a good story. Give me something
mhm,
that's going to make me think about it at night after I'm stopping playing, or something
mhm.
that's going to get
Yeah.
me talking to my peers and
Mhm.
sharing it and going, oh my gosh, this
Yeah.
just happened.
Yeah.
That's amazing to me, and it's really cool to
Mhm,
see how video games have evolved over
mhm.
time in order to create that.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, thank you again for that, Thomas, for explaining that first favorite part of yours. The next one that you have is going to be has to do with storytelling also, and it's going to be what how society impacts storytelling. So again, if you want to tell this the audience why this is one of your favorite parts.
So, a big part of the reason I have a couple. I mean, there's so
No, you're
many. I
fine.
don't want to take up all your time though.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, so, part of the reason I love how society impacts storytelling
Hmm.
is, in my mind, storytelling is one of the greatest reflections of society.
Hmm.
We can see this in books from hundreds of years ago. We can see this in modern storytelling. We can see it in all kinds of different formats. But in my mind, storytelling is the reflection of humanity's perception of things. And so when we look at storytelling, there's this really beautiful thing happens where there's a lot of discussion of mental health. There's a lot of discussion of things like societal goals or ambitions, or often even just a parody or a satire of that.
Hmm.
But the reason I love that so much is because it shows how society moves, and it shows kind of the current ideal of what it is to be human.
Hmm.
I know there's a lot of people who are complaining about, um, storytelling often kind of looking at different lenses on
Hmm.
masculinity or kind of
Hmm.
prioritizing sensitivity and masculinity.
Hmm.
I know there's a lot of people who complain that there's too many morals in
Hmm.
storytelling nowadays
Hmm.
or things like that. But to me, that's like the heart of what it is. Storytelling
Hmm.
is always about communicating, lifting
Hmm.
up humanity. And yes, storytelling has lows and there's a lot of darkness in it, but in its
Hmm.
core, that is the reflection of what people want, what we want to seek, what we want to understand about ourselves. Even if that reflection is dark or grim for a moment, there is another story where it can be hopeful and light.
Hmm.
And we as people
Hmm.
also turn to storytelling for our sense of identity, for our connection to
Hmm.
those around us, and to kind of hold up what we can be and what we want to be. And I think when we have those connections, the storytelling and stories connection to us,
Hmm.
what it does is it helps to create a pathway towards something better, even if something bad comes from it occasionally. And
Hmm.
at its core, in my mindset, society is not always supposed to advance, right? Everything
Hmm.
humans do, we can move forward, but if we don't move back, we don't get to reflect on what has happened after us
Hmm.
or before us.
Yeah.
And so society relies on storytelling, and storytelling relies on human beings. And that is my favorite part of that.
Yeah, I did think that's a great way to look at it too. One thing that that stuck with me when you first started speaking about it was the um, how the way people think about like storytelling and how like the subjects change, like how little things are being added to it. But I think it's supposed to reflect those items. I think storytelling is supposed to reflect how society is because society changes through the years and stuff, and the stories are supposed to change along with it. Plus, one thing that I've heard from other people is, and what I believe is that like people when they tell stories, whether it's in a game, whether it's in a writing or it's a
Mhm.
movie or stuff, people put a little piece of themselves in that, and maybe what experiences or what they've been going through. One of the an author that I did one of the podcasts with, she mentioned that she says she like tries to put a little pieces of herself in there, so it's a good reflection and it helps people like relate and stuff. So I 100% agree with like how society impacts storytelling. I think that's a very good way to look at that.
Thank you.
Hmm. And with that being said, that'll take us to your last favorite part, which with storytelling and how like society impacts storytelling. Now it can we can see how like storytelling impacts the people itself. Your subject was how storytelling can like help people live their best lives and things like that. So tell the audience why that's one of your favorite parts, also.
So part of the reason people living their best life um, through storytelling. I mean, I could go on and on, but I'm going to make it as simple as this: it's
Hmm.
people living their best life, right?
Hmm.
So often in society, everything is stacked against so many different people, and so often it feels like it is, and to a degree, it is, right? Like
Hmm.
we can't get away from that. There are people who will always have more than others, and there's always going to be pain, and there's always going to be bias. But when it comes to people living their best life through
Hmm.
storytelling, in a more broad answer, it is
Hmm.
people finding their self advocacy. It's people finding their community. It's
Hmm.
people going out and exploring a new art form. It's people learning how to fight against systems that keep them back, or even just against a bully at
Hmm.
school who is threatening to hurt them or take something from them. And for so many people, it's literally trying to get through a school day or a hard work day. Um, I could go on a major tangent about my frustration about that in general, but I'm not gonna.
Hmm.
But that is the point. Like storytelling
Hmm.
is meant to empower us. It's meant to uplift us. It's
Hmm.
meant to help us feel better. And the beautiful thing about storytelling is that can look billion trillion different ways just
Hmm.
between two people. And to me, when people are living their best life, when they're supporting themselves or their community, few things are as beautiful as that, because it's just humanity being kind and being
Hmm.
considerate and being empathetic. Um, and again, I have so many more things I could say on this exact topic, but I'll try to summarize it in saying that in those moments of kindness or empathy or empowerment, that is a foothold to get us to the future we want to have. And all people deserve to have a healthy, sustainable life that treats them well.
I agree with that, and I like that the fact that you can use something like storytelling to help that. You know, people there's tons of skills that people can say you can use to like help you live your best life, but you should be using anything at your disposal,
Mhm.
including like storytelling, or do something like that. Um, I did want to ask, do because it seems like you've been invested in this and seen a lot of things. Is there like an example or anybody that you've seen that like how this helped them, um, live their best life?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot that I can use, and I'm not going to give names or anything just out of
Mm-hmm.
respect for these people.
Mm-hmm.
But one of my favorite examples, one of my favorite examples is, um, I've been doing D&D at a local space that is designated for the autism community for several years now,
Mm-hmm.
and we might actually be coming up on like I think the third anniversary, which is going to be really cool. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so there were two brothers who came by. They, very very neurodiverse, very enthusiastic, wanting to learn. And when they first showed up, they were very anxious, very nervous about playing the game, which was
Mm-hmm.
D&D,
Mm-hmm.
Dungeons and Dragons. And over the months that we started playing, well, backing up a little, that first session, I was able to answer their questions. I
Yeah.
was able to get them involved in gameplay through storytelling. And so they started showing up on a regular basis. And then over time, it got close to Christmas. And I remember these young individuals, they were interacting, they were joyfully interacting with peers, making up story elements, laughing over those few months. And there were two different points that really struck out to me. We were
Mm-hmm.
about to take our Christmas break from sessions, and one of the brothers looked at me with these big starry eyed eyes, and said, "You are the greatest game master because you tell the story, but you make sure everybody feels safe and heard, and you take care of them and you listen. They're like, you were the best. And it was one of the sweetest moments I've ever had. And then they came back in the new year, and at the end of a session where they were just so happy to be there,
Mhm.
they showed up and their mom was peeking around the corner. I was like, okay, this is unique. And the younger one walked off. And first, as I was talking to someone, saw this young kiddo. He looked at me and he had a bag in his hand, and he said, "This is for you, for always helping me feel safe and respected." And it was a gift card in the bag. There was Harry Potter chocolate in it. They had gone to the Wizarding World, which is super
Yeah.
cool. And they just like, I don't normally hug people because I
Mhm.
want, maintain safety and make everyone feel
Mhm.
secure.
Mhm.
But he was just looking at me with like the biggest like admiration and compassion and everything. And I gave him a hug, and he just said,
Mhm.
"Thank you for being awesome," and then walked off. And like, in my opinion,
Mhm.
that only happens when people feel like they have a community and an adult
Mhm.
and a space where they feel safe, someone they can trust,
Mhm.
someone they can rely on, and truly be themselves. And that's one I use because to this day it still makes me want to cry from time to time telling that story, but it
Yeah.
also is a testimony to how this
Mhm.
care can help people that
Mhm.
might not normally have that opportunity or that level of trust
Mhm.
for their community.
Yeah, especially in times like now where, it's 2025. It's hard to like put trust into people for certain things. So to find that somebody can give you that trust and give you that like to go out of their way and to feel compelled to say something like that to you, for to have like storytelling affect somebody in that manner, that's probably an amazing thing. And especially in your profession in which you specialize in, um, I can imagine that probably made you go over the moon, which you said. So I applaud you, and I'm sure the audience thinks that's a good thing too. The reason I wanted to ask is because sometimes hearing these examples is what makes people. You never know who's out there and doesn't take these chances and stuff. And hearing those little things from people like you may want to make them say, "Hey, it's possible."
Thank you. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's the hope, right? To always
Hmm.
inspire people to do
Hmm.
more good work.
Yeah, take the positive and like always try to like pass it on and stuff. And
Hmm.
hopefully the next person will do the same. Because you never know, that kid, they might be in a situation like yours in the future and do the same thing for somebody else because of what you did. So
That is the hope.
yeah. And again, thank you for explaining all of those for the audience and stuff. I appreciate you sharing your favorite parts with everybody. If somebody doesn't feel inspired after those, I don't. Something's wrong with them. But but without further ado, that'll take us to the next part of our to the podcast, and that's going to be your five senses. With every guest, we'll ask these questions, and we're looking for your favorite of your five senses. So you got your touch, your taste. I always have to remember what they are, even though I do this all the time. Touch, taste, sound, sight, and smell. So I'll ask you what's your favorite of each, and I can either shoot you a random one now, or if you have one in mind, you can go ahead. If not, I'll give it to you.
Well, so of the five senses, I will let you know it's so hard to answer that question. So I love that question,
Mm-hmm.
um, but I'm gonna say probably my sight or my hearing are
Mm-hmm.
my two favorite. And
Uh,
the
it's it's going to be what's your favorite of each. So what's your
oh,
favorite sight? What's your favorite sound? What's your favorite taste?
that makes it a lot easier. Okay,
Yeah,
so I
I don't
will.
want to I don't want to hold you back. Just let it all go.
So I will say my favorite taste. I'm gonna be a little bit broad. I'm gonna say some like savory, like salty, savory foods are my favorite taste. Um, my favorite, my favorite hearing of favorite thing with hearing has got to be. I want to be cheesy, but I also want to be serious. Um,
Yeah.
so I'll go with two. So I love to hear people having fun. I
Mhm.
love that, like laughter, all of that. But I would
Mhm.
also have to say, I love to be able to hear. the people that I love in my life and be able to
Hmm.
hear what they have to say to me. My favorite smell, um, oh, that's got to be fresh baked banana bread. I love
Ooh,
fresh
that's
baked banana bread.
distinct. Where's
Yeah,
the candle? Where's the candle for that?
I know, right? Um, and then my favorite sight,
Uh-huh.
I would have to say, I'm going to be a little cheesy, a little emotional, and I'm going to say
Hmm.
two different things. One, I love a great sunrise in Colorado. Sunrise has Colorado has some of the best sunrises I think of
Hmm.
anywhere. But the other site, I love to see people who might be a little nervous at the start of an
Hmm.
event get excited and get enthusiastic when they hear the story or the public speaking that I
Hmm.
do. And then my favorite touch. So I have these little dragon things here. They're like these stress toys,
Yeah.
and they've got like almost like a pillowy yet like clay like
Hmm.
sensory thing. This has
Hmm.
become my new obsession recently because I can just
Hmm.
play with this the entire time.
Hmm.
Um, the other one I will say is petting a nice dog. That is always fantastic.
My cousin said the same thing. It was her dog. She said she would just sit there and like stroke it. So I can understand it. It's that like that feeling. It's from when it's like very comforting and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Did I say?
that's the
Oh,
second
I
time
did
I've
say
heard that,
smell.
and it's always a good one.
Absolutely. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, no, you're fine. um, Let me see. Is that all of them?
I think I did sight, sound,
Yeah,
hearing,
yeah. I think you nailed them.
touch, taste. Yeah.
No, that was awesome. I appreciate that. I don't know how I've done this so many times, and I haven't heard anybody say banana bread yet. So I love that. Next up, we have this is going to be the end of the show, but we got one last question for you.
Hmm.
It's going to be your proud moment. So I ask this with everybody before they leave. What's something that you've done recently that you're proud of? And if not something recent, anything in general.
So I recently, there's a lot of moments. I'm actually working on like being a better person at like
Mm-hmm.
acknowledging my own success,
Mm-hmm.
um, because that's always harder for me. But there was a moment recently. I had
Mm-hmm.
just done a camp with 17 kiddos, had amazing support with that one from a friend of mine. And I sat down in my, right after I was definitely overwhelmed and stressed and stuff. And I sat down,
Mm-hmm.
and the first thing that came to my mind was now you have to celebrate yourself. That and take a time to breathe. And for me, who is a workaholic and a
Mm-hmm.
perfectionist, a super bad perfectionist,
Mm-hmm.
um, that was a moment of pride for me because I was genuinely putting myself first for a rare
Mm-hmm.
moment, but I was also taking the time to acknowledge the accomplishment without needing a prompt from someone else. So that was a very
Yeah.
proud moment for me.
Good. I'm glad that you mentioned that because it's always you get so lost in the work sometimes that you forget to sit back and be like, look what I've done, look what I've accomplished. Not in a sense of like to be, I guess, like arrogant or anything like that, but in the sense to be like, hey, the process is working.
Hmm.
I'm gonna keep doing this because if you don't take those little moments, you're gonna before you know it's gonna pass you by and you're just gonna miss them. So I'm always up for people taking a patting themselves on the back, which I always feel like you should do. So congratulations for doing that because it for people that are invested in helping people, sometimes it's hard to do that.
Hmm.
So
Absolutely.
yeah. And with that being said, that's the last question for the show. So at this point, before we leave, I always open up the floor to everybody. Is there anything that you want to promote? Anything you want to tell the audience? Anything? The floor is yours to say whatever you need.
Absolutely. So I am going to be launching a few new programs. A lot of them
Hmm.
are going to be in my state of Colorado, but I am launching an online webinar series
Hmm.
on Eventbrite and on Zoom,
Hmm.
which I think is definitely growing a lot faster as a platform. Pretty cool to see that
Hmm.
Zoom has that. That's going to be talking a lot about my work and pop culture and how to utilize it well. On top of that, I'm going to have new classes. If you're in the Colorado
Hmm.
area or looking for someone who can work across the United States to help out, let me know. I do a lot of different programs. I will make sure that my link tree and all my important links and
Hmm.
Patreon and things are set up in the link discussion. um, but now that I spent a moment promoting myself, I do want to say thank you for having me on. And for those
Hmm.
who are listening who may
Hmm.
be looking for resources or wanting to ask questions, please feel free to reach out to me at my
Hmm.
email, which is ndttrpg at gmail.com. Don't worry, that is a lot of similar sounding letters. It'll make sure you have that as well.
Hmm.
But I want to encourage your audience to take those times to celebrate themselves,
Hmm.
to take a deep breath, to rest, and to acknowledge there are scary times out there, but that does not mean joy cannot
Hmm.
live.
Hmm.
And I'm a big believer doing what we love helps that flame to rage in life. So I encourage you to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I 100% agree with that. And before we leave and before the video comes out, I'll make sure I get those links and those addresses that you mentioned, just so I can put them on the video. I like to I like to put everybody's stuff on there so everybody knows where they can find the links. They'll find it on the YouTube and everything for you. So we'll make it easy for everybody.
Awesome. Perfect.
Hmm. No? And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for joining us on another episode. Thomas, thank you again for being here, being an awesome guest, being a patient guest, and also, I really like this subject because I do feel like people need to get involved with storytelling more. And with that, we on the side we talked about BG3 Baldur's Gate. So if there's so many avenues that people can get involved with storytelling. So the fact that you're an advocate for that, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep. And to the audience, thank you again for being here with us. We'll catch you guys on the next episode, and I hope you all have a great day. Peace.